Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rookie Reporters YouTube channel. I'm Sophie and today I'm going to be giving you a recap of everything that happened at the Miami Grand Prix because it was chaotic. I think I said this a few races ago, but I think this one tops it. We are back from the 1 month long Formula 1 drought, which was April, and there have been a few stories over this break that have sent fans in a craze. So starting with Media Day, it was brought up that there would be a thunderstorm in Miami over the coming days of the weekend, so it left fans wondering if the race would actually proceed. The first main story from the April break was that Max Verstappen's race engineer, Gianpiero Lambiase, was set to leave Red Bull and join McLaren by 2027. Now, a lot of speculation has risen from this, with fans questioning whether Max would retire from F1 or join McLaren, but only time will tell. A more recent story that came out was that Formula 1 will return to Istanbul Park in Turkey from 2027 to 2031. The last time we saw this incredible circuit was in 2021, and then we saw Lewis Hamilton winning his 7th World Championship in 2020 with Mercedes. Returning from the 1 month break in April, we returned to the 305 in Miami, Florida, where the drivers battled it out on the Miami International Autodrome, a track where it's known for its high-speed straights and tight technical sections. With the championship resuming, this was set up to be a pretty incredible weekend. For Friday, we had FP1 and Sprint Quali. For FP1, the FIA had decided to extend the session by 30 minutes after the break to allow drivers to get back into the groove of their cars. So, Mercedes driver and championship leader Kimi Antonelli came into the weekend looking for another win after back-to-back wins in China and Japan. He then skipped the chicane at turn 14 early on in the session, and then he got caught behind Lance Stroll, who was weaving on his outlap later on as well. Ferrari were looking to improve their cars this weekend by bringing 11 upgrades to the track, including the Macarena wing. Red Bull also brought upgrades, including this 180 flipped rear wing, as they thought it looked good, so they tried it the whole weekend as well. Topping the board was Charles Leclerc with a 1 minute 21.310, followed by Verstappen in second and then Piastri in third. So later on, sprint qualifying was up and Lance Stroll had to end his session early in SQ1 with a problem with his car and ended up setting no time. Everything went smoothly until the end of the session, where we saw Stroll, Alonso, Bottas, Perez, Ocon and Lawson have their qualifying ended early. SQ2 saw Charles Leclerc top the leaderboard again with a 1 minute 28.333, followed by Piastri and Hamilton. Exiting SQ2, we saw Lindblad, Sainz, Albon, Behrman, Hulkenberg and Bortoleto not make it to the final sprint qualifying session. For the final sprint qualifying session, we saw Lando Norris take sprint pole with a 1 minute 27.869, with Kimi Antonelli 2 tenths behind him and Oscar very close behind him. We also saw Franco Colapinto's best qualifying session, with him finishing in 8th place. Moving on to the Saturday, we had the sprint race where only 8 of the drivers can score points. Before the race even started, Nico Hulkenberg's car set alight on the way to the track on the formation lap. Arvid Lindblad had qualified 15th and was set to start the race from the pit lane due to an error reported from his team. He then failed to start the race as a technical issue occurred, which forced him to have his car taken back to the garage. The lights went out and Lando Norris got a good launch, with Kimi Antonelli having a not so good one and dropped back 2 places back into 4th. And then we saw Lewis Hamilton, Franco Colapinto and Max Verstappen head 3 wide into the first few corners, with Max coming out ahead of them both. Then later on in the lap, we saw Lewis and Max fighting for P6 and P7, with them consistently switching in between the laps. Finishing the sprint, we saw Lando Norris grab the 8 points, followed by Piastri in second, and then Leclerc, Antonelli, Russell, Verstappen, Hamilton and then Gasly. Following the sprint race, it was found that Gabriel Bortoleto was disqualified due to the pressure of the engine air intake exceeding the legal limit of 4.8 bar. Then after the sprint, we had the Grand Prix qualifying. In Q1, we saw Kimi Antonelli lead the pack with a 1 minute 28.635, with Leclerc and Verstappen just under 5 tenths behind him. Then Bortoleto, Bottas, Perez, Stroll, Alonso and Lindblad didn't manage to further their qualifying session, as we saw them exit Q1. Next up was Q2, and it was Max Verstappen who topped the leaderboard with a 1 minute 28.116, followed by championship leader Kimi Antonelli and then Leclerc in third. Exiting Q2 and just missing out on Q3 was Albon, Ocon, Sainz, Behrman, Lawson and Hulkenberg, with both Alpines, Red Bulls, Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren cars filling up the final session of the day. Q3 saw Kimi Antonelli take his 3rd pole position in a row this year, followed by Max Verstappen in second and Charles Leclerc in third. Behind these 3, we had Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Piastri, Colapinto, who had his highest qualifying position in 8th, Hajar and then Gasly in 10th. After qualifying had finished, Isaac Hadjar had been disqualified from the session due to a post-race investigation where they found that his floorboards were 2 mm more than the reference volume, so because of this he started the race from the pit lane. To round off the weekend, we had the Grand Prix on Sunday. Before the race, it was predicted that there would be a thunderstorm in Miami, so it left everyone wondering if the race would actually go on. Because of the weather conditions, the FIA, F1 and the Miami promoter had decided to move the race forward 3 hours to avoid any collisions with the storm. Now, onto what happened on the actual race. I'd previously said that either China or Japan was a chaotic race, but I think this one tops it. Penalties were thrown out, crashes occurred, and a lot of battling happened, so let's recap it all. As the lights went out, Antonelli had a slower start than the rest of the pack behind him, and then him and Verstappen both locked their tyres heading into turn 1. That then gave Charles Leclerc the lead, who then touched Max Verstappen, which sent him into a 360 spin at the third corner, dropping him down a few places. And then the Alpine of Franco Colapinto and the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton were battling out, and then they had contact where Franco Colapinto came out ahead of Lewis. Then, on the back straight, Hamilton retook the position. The following few laps saw a three-way battle between Leclerc, Antonelli and Norris for first place, and whilst all that was happening, Isaac Hadjar had hit the wall at the back chicane and then crashed into the barrier. The safety car was due to come out for that, but then a few seconds later, Pierre Gasly and Liam Lawson had a crash, where Liam had locked the front left tyre and then he bashed into Gasly's car, which led to the car flipping upside down and into the barrier. Thankfully, he said that he's okay, and then the safety car was out for 6 laps. Max had decided to go for a pit stop under the safety car and change from the medium to the hard compound tyres. And then Max had decided to pit under the safety car and change his tyres from the medium compound to the hard compound. And then Nico Hulkenberg was told to retire the car. This was because he had contact with one of the Williams on the first lap and then had to pit for a new front wing. But Audi then later found a problem which forced him to stop the race. Then, Albon and Verstappen had a moment on the last corner where Max was later investigated for crossing the white line at the pit lane exit. Lap 27 then came around and it was Kimi Antonelli who triggered the pit stop, so Lando Norris pitted the lap after to defend from the undercut from Mercedes. Bottas was then under investigation for speeding through the pit lane and then later received a drive-through penalty. It was then on lap 35 when Antonelli stated that he had a problem with his pedals and his gearbox, but Mercedes had claimed that the car was okay and he could carry on. The race was pretty calm up until the last lap where Leclerc had a spin and then hit the wall. The FIA had decided to do an investigation after the race for driving in an unsafe condition. The last few corners allowed Russell and Verstappen to catch up to Leclerc, and whilst he tried to keep his position, Russell had overtaken him on the last corner and Verstappen overtook him just metres before the finish line. George had managed to take 4th place with a broken front wing as it dragged across the floor. In the end, it was Kimi Antonelli who took his 3rd win in a row this season, extending his championship lead by 25 points. He was followed by both McLarens, with Norris in 2nd and Piastri in 3rd. Now, after the race, some investigations were held by the FIA. First case was Charles Leclerc. He was investigated due to the events on the last lap where he left the track multiple times without justification and drove in an unsafe condition. Stewart said that Charles informed them that the car would not turn the right-hand corners properly, and given this, was forced to cut the chicanes on the last lap, giving him an advantage by leaving the track. The FIA had decided that he would receive a drive-through penalty, but as the race was finished, they added 20 seconds onto his time, moving him down to 8th. This then led Lewis Hamilton and Franco Colapinto to move up to 6th place and 7th. Finally, the next investigation was for Max Verstappen, who crossed the white line at the pit exit. Stewards had decided to investigate him post-race just to get the clear footage before making any decisions. And after looking at the videos from multiple different angles, they had found that Max's front left tyre had crossed the white line. The FIA had decided to give him a 5-second penalty, which dropped him down to 6th place and moved Hamilton up to 5th. And that is all I have time for today. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Rocky Reporters YouTube channel, and if you're not already, check out all of our socials for brand new content about the sports you love. Don't forget to also check out our website, therockyreporters.com, to read our articles as well.